It started in the abandonment with my dad, and then I was homeless for a while. So it actually started way before that. It also even started when my ex-husband, the man that I had been with for 33 years, I had been with him since I was 13 years old, had come to me and say to me that he was leaving me for another woman. So by the time the gunman came into the school, I was already in an overwhelming state myself, tried to commit suicide more than twice. So I already understood what he needed to me to be that day.
And you said that God prepared you because you were already in the habit of spending quality, quiet time with God every morning. So you had already met with God that morning.
Yes, I actually have my quiet time in the morning time. I get up and have devotional time with God. And I was asking him, okay, God, you didn't tell me anything about what was going to happen 2 hours later. He didn't give me any clue on that.
Yeah.
But I actually started spending time with God after my ex-husband left me. I learned how to not just go to church, but also have a relationship with God. And that's a big difference.
That made the difference.
So describe what happened that morning.
Well, I got up that morning and I'm sitting there in my quiet time, having prayer time with God, and I make my son breakfast. He likes an IHOP breakfast, I call it. He likes some bacon and eggs and, you know, wants his cup of coffee just like he's at the IHOP restaurant. And so we have our quiet time every morning, and then we go into having devotional time with him, and I get up to go to work. And as I'm going to work, nothing tells me what I'm going to face. My principal asked me to fill in for the receptionist. See, that was not my job. I was the bookkeeper. My office was around the corner. And as I'm now getting prepared, I get this call to say to me that in 7 days that I need to come up with $14,000. So I'm sitting in my office just bawling, crying, like, okay, God, what do I do? How do I do it? And so now the reception called me and says, where am I? Because I'm late to relieve her for lunch. And so I should have been there and back by the time that I got there. But God has another plan. And I know all of that was actually his plan for me to be late, because by the time I got there, the gunman was walking in the office the moment that I sat down. I hadn't even been seated in my seat for 5 minutes before he walked into the door with an AK-47 and over 500 rounds of ammunition, allowing me and a teacher that was there to know that we're all going to die today.
Well, he said those exact words to you. He said, we're all going to die today.
I'm like, okay, God, this can't be for real. You know, what am I seeing? I had never seen a gun before. And so when he came into the building, I'm like, okay, this has got to be a joke. And so,
Thought it was a toy gun, maybe.
well, I didn't even really know if it was a toy gun or what. I'm just sitting there looking like, okay, is this for real? Is he just standing there? But I knew that it was for real because of the words that was coming out of his mouth. He was now going to and fro, allowing me to know that not only am I going to die, but everybody in the building, including him, were going to die today.
And you said his eyes really gave it away too. His eyes were like demon eyes, you called them.
Yes, they were actually just allowing me to know that he had no life and that he was willing to take life.
So he said to the teacher who was with you, what did he say to her? Because she didn't stay the whole time.
Well, I was actually sitting there, and he told the teacher to go and let everybody know that he was in the building. And so as she was going, he didn't know that on the other side of the wall was actually teachers and students. And they were actually making commotion and everything, so he was getting upset. And so he then goes in to now get ready to start shooting. And I'm like, nope, come back in here. We're not going to do that today.
So you took control.
Oh, yes. I'm like, they're only doing what you told them to do. We're not going to do that today. And so now he gets angry with me because I'm not allowing him and saying to him, and I'm steady talking to him. And then he goes outside, and that's when he starts shooting outside in the community, just unloading his gun in the community.
So just out the door of the school, he's just shooting wildly out the front door.
So,
yes.
Okay, so now you're alone in the office. Did it occur to you, maybe I should, leave? He's not here, I can sneak out the back because he's not looking at me. Did that cross your mind?
It did. Matter of fact, I asked the 911 operator, can I leave? And she asked me, could I get somewhere safe? And I could have gone around the corner and got somewhere safe, but it was an open area. Everything in the school is open. And if I would have done that, I've already seen this young man going to and fro. I know that if I would have ran, everybody in the school would have been dead. And so for me, it was more important for me that day to stay there and allow God to be able to work out everything for us all.
So you're in a conversation with a 911 officer and operator and with this crazed gunman. And so just give us outline of the conversation. What was going back and forth?
Well, he didn't know I was on the phone with the 911 operator. He had told me to hang up. He didn't know she was on the phone.
So initially he told you to call people, call the TV station, call the police, tell them I'm serious, tell them this is going to happen today and I want coverage. And so you got on the phone and you made these calls. But when you called the 911 operator, he thought you hung up, but you didn't hang up.
Right. He told me to hang up. And so what I did is I put her on hold. I called the news station. And then he told me to hang up the phone, but instead I put the phone on the other side of the desk where he couldn't see the phone. And I took the phone off hold so that they can have eyes and ears on the inside as I'm now talking to him. So he had no idea that they were actually going. So while he's going to and fro, I'm actually sitting there having a conversation with God, screaming on the inside. God, what do I do? What do I say? How do I say it? Every word out of my mouth right now is life or death, not just for me and the gunman, but for everyone in this building. How do I do this? So I'm actually having a conversation with God, like, okay, direct me, guide me. And so he's now going to and fro, going outside. He's getting angry. And I'm like, okay, God, what do I do? What do I do? And so I remember after some of my interviews, everybody kept saying how calm I was and how I was saying things. I had to go back and listen to the tape. And I didn't even recognize it was me.
Because it was, of course, a 911 tape, and those are all recorded, and on all the newscasts I remember hearing your voice. You were so calm. Why do you think you were so calm?
That was just a God. I can't even give myself any credit. That was God using me for that moment. Because I know that if I had been, overwhelming and crazy like I was feeling on the inside, on the outside, all of us would have died that day. And God was not going to have that ending at all.
So describe further than how things played out over the course of those next minutes.
Well, he wound up shooting right there in front of me, feet away from me. The bullet ricocheted everywhere. And I'm actually sitting there, God, please don't let this bullet hit me. By that time, the cafeteria manager was in the building, in the room with me.
He came in the room not knowing what was happening. He missed I think the teacher that left the room let everyone know intruder alert. That's the code for the school to know that something's happening. And so she said
to go into lockdown
lockdown mode, but he didn't know it. So he comes into your office, the reception office, just happy as a lark walking in there, not knowing there was a gunman there. And so he put himself in that position without really realizing it.
Yeah, see, that's the busiest time of the day. Normally it would have been hundreds of kids in the office being relieved from school, and parents too. So when he came in, because it was not over the intercom system, he didn't hear it. So the actual teacher was going to individual people to let them know. So he didn't get any, alert to say that this is an intruder in the building. So he came in to put his stuff up to go do mail, and didn't know that when he came in that he was going to actually encounter a gunman. And so when he came in, he was just walking, and the gunman's like, okay, this is not a joke. Get behind the desk with her. And he's thinking it's still a joke, just like I did. And so he's moving slow. Yeah. And so the gunman gets agitated, and he now fires his first shot right there in the room with us.
Do you think he was trying to hit you or the other gentleman, or just to warn you?
I think he was actually trying to warn the cafeteria manager that he was actually for real.
Okay.
I don't think that he was intentionally trying to hit us, because he had all the opportunities. I'm sitting close to him, right close to him, just like I am with you. So he had the opportunity to be able to shoot us all dead. So I think that it was just a warning to let us know that he was not playing.
Okay, so then eventually he did let the cafeteria manager go as well. So it's back down to just the two of you in the office. He's, like you said, and then he goes to the doors again and shoots out the front doors again, just to make a statement.
Well, he wound up towards the middle part of it. He goes out and he starts shooting at the police. And now by this time, police are everywhere. So now they have a cowboy Indian shoot 'em up, bang, bang. And I'm sitting by a big window. And I'm like, okay, bullets is flying everywhere. Glass is everywhere. And so I say to him, come back in here. I'm motioning now. You get in the mom mode. I need you to come back in here. Bullets don't have any name. I need you to come back in here, and we're going to all live today. We are not going to die. And so he stands there still shooting, and he doesn't move. And so I'm like, okay, God, please let him move back in here. This bullets is flying. I don't want them to shoot a bullet in the window. And so he then gets, I don't know if the bullet hit him, or he gets some kind of way, he gets blood on him. And he now comes back in, and he's just now very upset. And he's just pacing and everything. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? But towards the middle part and towards the end, he winds up going in and just, I'm telling him about my story. I'm allowing him to know about my son who is multiple disabled, and allow him to know that even with all of that, and even with my ex-husband leaving me, there's still a God that sit high and look low, and that he cares for all of us. And so I just wanted him to be able to know that in spite of it all, I was a normal person just like him, hurting just like he was, but in spite of it all, that we all can be able to go home today.
So that connection of saying, you know what, we have some things in common here. You know, I've gone through some difficult times. I'm in a difficult time, and you're obviously there. And there was that kind of a connection on a deeper level that seemed to calm him down somewhat. So then, how did kind of the ending of that story take place in the school?
Well, actually, I'm sitting there talking to him, and he actually just goes and lay down on the floor. He puts his bullets, the gun, and everything right there on the counter beside me.
So he's ready to give up.
So because you're talking to him and you say to him, you know, you don't have to die today. This can end well. Do you want me to tell the police that you're willing to give yourself up? And he said, okay. He said, fine. You got him down there. You talked him down.
Yeah, I told him that I was willing to go outside with him. I was willing to go out there so that they wouldn't shoot him. Because at the end of the day, I wanted him to be okay too. And so I'm letting him know everything that's going on with me in my life. I'm letting him know that it's okay and that it's going to be okay. His whole thing was, you know, I shot at the police. You know, I'm going to jail for a long time. They're going to kill me. And so I just wanted him to know that in spite of it all, that it was going to be all right. And so then he winds up, and I don't even know where he actually started having confidence in me or really start feeling comfortable enough to be able to give himself up. I just know that in the midst of that, he did.
And that's exactly what happened. The police came in. He was laying on the floor. The police came in. They took him away. And no one was hurt. No one was killed that day.
Yes.
Praise God.
Nobody. And even him, that was the most important for me. Not just the kids or the parents or myself, but I also wanted him to be able to go home that day.